Welcome to Jon and Louise on Life.
Hello everyone, we are in our kitchen because we stupidly promised to make a Simnel cake, which is fine if you have all the ingredients. So we have got 90% of the ingredients and the rest we are being creative with.
There's nothing like good planning, is there?
This is probably why my cakes are never any good.
And this is nothing like good planning.
Right.
Anyway.
Off we go. The first stage, now before you ask, we're going to put the recipe underneath this video. So you'll have all the amounts and everything that you need under here. The first thing we have to do is to soak our fruit in orange juice. But we don't have any orange juice, so it's a good start. We are going to use...
Gin.
No, we're not. Canned grapefruit. Okay, now apparently this way. Can you open the tin because I can never get the lid off those things? Now I've got 250 grams of dried mixed fruit. I haven't got any mixed peel in here because I hate mixed peel. So we're going to splodge some in. We'll pour it in there. We're going to put some, now this isn't in syrup, it's proper fruit juice. So I'm doing half a mug of grapefruit juice in with the dried fruit, and then we're going to put that on the hob and warm it up and stir it until all the fruit juice has been absorbed into the fruit.
Right.
Or for very clever people who have a microwave, which we don't because I don't like microwaves, you can put it in there for 2 minutes and it does exactly the same job. And then you just put it to side and let it cool down whilst you do the rest of the cake. So that's the first stage.
First stage.
Yes. Now we were going to discuss...
We're going to, this is the last Jon and Louise for the summer. We're going to take a break for the summer. We've got some other video projects to do and we're going to come back in the autumn. But we thought it'd be good to review some of the things that we've done over the last 15 weeks.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to put the fruit on. You keep talking.
All right. Well, the first thing we did, the first week, you probably didn't even see this. I think about 3 people and our dog watched it. We looked at...
It wasn't that bad.
We looked at The Chosen. We actually showed their video, their trailer for it.
Yeah, we did.
And
Harry and Izzy reviewed it because they've watched the whole series. We've watched 3 or 4 episodes
and it's
of
really
it.
good.
Yeah,
really good.
we're
Recommend
really
it.
enjoying it.
But interestingly enough, it must have triggered something on YouTube because the guys that do The Chosen got in touch with us and said, thank you for the publicity.
Yeah.
Keep supporting us. So
they definitely need financially
yeah.
supporting still though, because they want to do more and more episodes. But I think the second series has been commissioned, so that's all good.
So week 2 was Andy Kind.
Oh yeah, now he's the Christian comedian. And he was actually really, really interesting and funny because he was in lockdown, of course,
He was
like
in
the rest of
lockdown,
us.
yes.
I'm going to beat some eggs whilst we're
All
just
right.
waiting.
Okay. So Andy Kind, great interview. God was doing some good things in his life, and I can give you an update now that actually God is moving him on. He's got another with him coming out of lockdown. He's got some exciting plans. So keep your eyes out for Andy Kind and any things coming up. Week 3 was Louise Key.
Oh yeah, now I spoke to Louise because she was the lady that wrote that beautiful Christmas song that we played at church on the Sunday morning that I had to be preaching, and then I cried. It's like a modern day carol and it's absolutely beautiful. We've actually still got the links to that if you want to hear the song for yourself. Louise Key was the same week as Jared Cooper.
Yes.
That poor man. We made him do a quiz.
Actually, he was great. He was very, very easy and natural and good fun. He just played along with us, didn't he?
Yeah,
Bless
well,
him.
he's a friend, so
Yeah.
he had to,
Yeah,
really.
he did. Anyway, so that was really good. And in fact, one thing that Jared did was we sort of quizzed him as well, didn't we? We sort of lured him in with the easy, silly questions. Then we just hit him with a few hard questions.
Yeah.
About prophecy and that sort of thing, and what he thought God was doing and God was saying. And he actually answered a really good question and gave some really good thoughts on prophecy. So actually I thought it might be just good to share that for a few minutes now while we get on and beat those eggs and fry those sultanas.
We will do the noisy bit now, so I'm going to cream the butter and sugar together, whisk the eggs a bit better and check on the fruit that is smoking nicely.
Yeah.
So
meanwhile, watch Jared. Let's talk about what do you see as the role of prophecy in the church? Prophecy's taken a bit of a hit lately, one way and another. What with making predictions about the American election, which might not have come to pass. Perhaps there were some things said about COVID that never came to pass, or maybe did. Um, have we got prophecy wrong in the church?
I think number one, it's in most Western churches we have become very acclimatized to listening to and being led by teacher type people who are very clear. 3-point sermons, lifestyle stuff that you can really apply into your everyday, or note upon note theology. But if you read the Bible, and if you read the prophetic books, Ezekiel, Daniel, Jeremiah, Isaiah, or even skip over to the New Testament, Revelation, and compare them to the teaching epistles, you will go, well, the prophets are like they're on drugs half the time. I mean, it's crazy. There's rivers, there's eagles, there's scrolls, there's all sorts of things flying around. Prophets are unusual. And so most Western churches are not very well equipped, even pastors, I would say, to understand or know how to put in place prophetic ministry. Prophecy isn't just foretelling, it's also forthtelling the will of God and the purposes of God, but it's also bringing power for change. So it encourages and builds and develops the church to be what it should be. Now, obviously, where it often gets its worst rap, I would say, is when you go into predictive prophecy rather than empowering prophecy. So, straight up, should Trump have had a second term or not? Well, I've done a little bit this with I have an online learning community called The Tribe, and we do a lot of prophetic training in it. And we've gone into why prophets get it wrong on things like this. I mean, as soon as you become very emotionally engaged in an issue, for instance, if you've already visited the White House, you've been there, you now have a personal investment, it's very easy for those lines between emotion, personal investment and preference, and God to become quite a blurred thing. And so it's very easy for emotion, and even if you feel passionately about your nation, sometimes we can get a little bit mixed up between political issues and then the will of God. I mean, I think people are amazed even today that when Jesus turned up, he didn't deal with the politics of the Roman occupation much. In fact, I do a whole series of teaching on how God used the Roman occupation to accelerate the move of the gospel in the early church. And so a negative political situation which was traumatic and tragic, was actually used by God to propel the gospel further. And you'll often find that God's men and women are next to the seat of power, not always in the seat of power. It's Daniel, it's Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, it's Joseph. And so it's a very complex area to try and prophesy into. And I really admire those prophets that went for it, but have willingly gone, you know what, think we got that wrong, and let's just come clean and say that. On the COVID issue, similarly, with prophecy, we all prophesy in part. In other words, you're going to get parts right and parts wrong. And some of what has come out, for instance, one of them was that we would be in the peak of a plague during Passover, was for about 15 or 16 countries at least, highly accurate. Whether some went on to prophesy that it would end by Passover, that's a very different thing. I haven't heard those prophecies, but I think they have been said. But that never, I did a whole series of stuff with about 15 prophets in May, and none of them were saying that, other than that there would, they'd prophesied historically that there would be a peak of plague over Passover. And but prophecy is messy. It's not teaching. We want people to go, okay, in 3 easy steps, tell us what's going to happen. And actually, when a prophet turns around and starts talking about doves and fires and trumpets and tidal waves, you go, no, please talk in English. But read the prophetic books in the Bible. They're not teachers, so we've got to learn to interpret them better and to fit them around other wisdom too,
Yeah,
Difficult one, complex, even now.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Hello, we're back again.
Hope you enjoyed Jared like we did.
Yes.
And we've been busy in your absence. I've been down the co-op.
It's gone pear-shaped already. The butter was too hard, so we had to go and buy more butter. And so we've come back and creamed it, and it's all right, except the spoon has actually stood up in it. Is it meant to stand up?
Yeah,
Like
that's
that?
fine. Yeah.
Right, that's fine. So the fruit is now soaked and cooling off a little bit. The eggs are whisked. John is going to line the tin, aren't you?
I am.
So we've got a round tin, that's traditional, but use anything you've got, with a floating bottom because it's easy to push the cake out, and it's about 20 centimetres in diameter. So John can get on with that. The next thing I've got to do is to add in all the ingredients except for the fruit. I'm just going to check the recipe because we've got my laptop here, and it says, and we've got all John's stuff here as well. So we have got to now add in the eggs, flour, ground almonds, half a teaspoon of baking powder, lemon, spice, vanilla, all in one go, but not the fruit yet. So eggs, how are you getting on? You're doing fine.
I'm doing absolutely fine.
Eggs, flour, ground almonds, vanilla. We have Madagascan vanilla.
Mm.
It's not that posh, really.
Is it made of penguins? The penguins of Madagascar.
I love the penguins of Madagascar. Right, it's gloopy, so we're just gonna. We aren't doing anything fancy here. Never have done. Spices. Now I've got some mixed spice, but how old is that?
Well, is this millennia?
Is it
If
that
it was
bad?
before, if it's before 2000, I think I'd have thrown it out.
No, it's,
But admit it,
that's
you got spices in your
that's
cupboard. That's
2 years old, so we won't be using that one. We're going to use ground cinnamon, about half a teaspoon. There we go. Bung that in. And what else has got to go in? Vanilla, lemon juice. Ah, it's in the fridge. Can you get to the fridge without knocking everything over?
not very easily.
Okay,
We'll do that in a sec.
okay, right. So we need to talk about the other people that we've been interviewing.
Yeah.
Who was next on the list after the Christmas period? We had Jared.
We had Jaboo.
Right, he was talking
Yes.
about vaccinations, which was, I found, really, really helpful and encouraging, actually. It's really good. And I think Jaboo was really good in that.
Yeah.
He helped us
Yeah.
sort of, we went over all the stuff that people are worried about.
It was useful, very good
yeah.
interview. I mean, we're blessed to have him in the church, aren't we, really?
It was good.
Yeah. And then it was Jeremy True after that. It was
yeah.
a good
The
interview with
vicar.
Jeremy. Jeremy's now started in Saffron Walden. He's got the biggest church, size-wise, in Essex.
Essex.
Yeah, it's
That's
actually
cool.
Essex.
That's really cool.
It's near Cambridge, but it's still in Essex.
Right, okay.
So Jeremy, that was interesting talking about sort of the opportunities of the church post-pandemic, etc. So that was good.
So he's off and he's already in his new place
He's in his
now.
new church, yes.
Right, I
Yeah.
need a metal spoon for this because this is just, if this comes out anything edible, it's going to be a miracle.
If this
Honestly.
video comes out any good, it's going to be a miracle.
Right, who's after Jeremy? Who do we do next?
Dave Pearson from the BBC.
Oh, now that was an interesting interview actually, because we don't know Dave, but he was recommended to us by a friend, and he works for the BBC and he's a Christian. And it was just interesting getting his take on the BBC and the programming they do, and you know, that sort of thing, wasn't it?
It was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
really good.
I mean, Dave, lovely guy. It's great to know there's people like Dave working for the BBC, isn't
Yeah.
it, really? Yeah, because sometimes we despair, I think, a little bit of the BBC and the sort of programme and the agenda they've got as well.
Yeah.
But no, it's good to know there's still people like Dave. And there's actually a lot of Christians working for the BBC, so that's encouraging.
Right, I need lemons.
All right.
I need, we haven't got any fresh lemon. We're going to use some squeezy lemon, which is perfectly adequate. So can you get to the fridge?
I think I'll try.
Okay, try and get to the fridge. And what else have we got to pin?
Yeah, it's a tablespoon.
That'll do.
Lovely. Right. Yeah,
Right,
wonderful.
that's definitely a tablespoon.
Yeah.
We haven't got any glacé cherries, but we do have
Special
cherries from
Ra-
our tree, so they're
yeah,
organic.
Yeah,
Rachel would
know all about
particularly
them.
loves these cherries, so in they go, special cherries, and the dried fruit. Actually, this is a great idea for just a standard fruit cake. Doesn't that look nicer
They
than
smell
standard dried
brilliant
fruit?
as well. They
They
smell
really
amazing.
do. So that's our fruit with our grapefruit juice instead of an orange. Okay, and we're gonna fold that in. How are you getting on lining the tin?
I'm still getting on with it. I've been going to the fridge and stuff.
Okay, right.
All right, Dr.
Okay.
Michael Brown.
Yeah, now that was an interesting interview because he's quite an important person in America. He's a bit of a celebrity out there, and we don't know him, or we've never met him, so it's a bit intimidating.
No, well, we just emailed him to see if he would be willing to speak to us, and were amazed actually that he came back, and his assistant came back, and Dylan, I think his assistant is called, and said, yeah, Dr. Brown would love to speak to you,
Awesome.
and we had half an hour with him.
Did I put any baking soda in?
No, not yet.
Oh, no. I hope that tastes all right. Anyway, so we interviewed him. Fascinating man.
Yeah.
Really
but
lovely
also
man.
there was an interview in an American magazine called The Stream off the back of our interview. So he used it as well as we did. He's a real blessing to the church in the States actually at this moment in time.
He's level-headed.
Yeah. Charismatic. He's been part of revival around the country.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was really good to speak to him. And
he went to
get
the
his
same
perspective.
church as Sophie McLachlan. I can't remember how you say her surname.
McLachlan.
She didn't. No, it's
McLachlan.
McLachlan.
Is
Anyway,
it?
they went to the same church
Did they
together,
really?
so she knows him very well. So that was quite good endorsement as well. That she's a big fan of Dr. Brown as well.
Yeah. So following week was Carrie Summers.
Yeah. Now do you know what I got from that really?
Yeah, go on.
Was about the school uniform, because we have Teflon coated school uniform for kids and have done for a long time. Our children's school uniform, their blazers, are made out of recycled bottles, which is really great. But the chemicals they use to coat the school uniform to make it stain proof and that sort of more hard wearing actually makes the uniform cost so much more.
Also, it's really bad for the environment.
It's incredibly bad.
And bad for you
so
too.
Stop doing it.
Yeah.
Whoever does school uniforms, make uniforms cheaper. They are more natural. They're better against your kid's skin. There's so much more benefits. Teflon is really, really bad news right around.
Yeah.
Look
also,
at you.
look at that. Look at that.
Oh dear.
A work of art.
Right. Well, you can do
anyway,
baking from now
Carrie.
on.
I mean, it's amazing that somebody from this area. She started the world's first ever fair trade fashion company, and she's running the world's largest fashion activist organisation. So I mean, she's quite a person. In fact, in the next few weeks, it's Fashion Revolution Week, I think. So
you'll
watch
probably
out for
see
that.
her on the telly. She's on
And
the news all the
she's
time.
really making an impact in the fashion world. The major brands are looking up and seeing what's going on there. So
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
she's
Well
really
done,
good,
Carrie.
and she's a friend of ours. She used to be part of our youth group. Now then, what I've just sprinkled all over the worktop is icing sugar, because one of the most important ingredients is marzipan in a Simnel cake. So I've bought the marzipan that is beige. It's not bright yellow. You know, you can get that bright yellow marzipan. Well, I don't want that. I want the more natural
There's no
natural
Teflon
stuff.
in
Can you
that
get me a
then.
knife?
Or just an ordinary.
Yeah, just an ordinary. Right, so I've got a 500 gram block of marzipan. I'm going to cut it in half and put half back. Actually, no, that'll be fine. I'll put half back for later on because we'll need that for the decorating. And then the other half I've got to roll out to a disc for the cake. So, babe, what you can do is...
You just need the one tin, do you? Or do you need two tins?
Yeah. No, we're going to go
right,
one
just
tin. So if this is the cake mixture all mixed in, look. And I have remembered every ingredient, haven't I?
We'll find out later.
Right, so what have we got to do now? Mix in the soda, blah. Right, if you can put half that in the tin and then just gently smooth it in, I am going to roll out the marzipan. Is there any other church leaders that cook?
Well, there's lots of cook, but not on they're not stupid enough to do it on
No.
video. Anyway, next person.
Who's the next
Sophie.
person? Oh, I just loved Sophie's interview. We were both really emotional, weren't we?
It was quite something, wasn't it? And it's really touched a lot of people actually, because
loads of people
it is
watched
our
it.
second most watched video.
Right, good.
After obviously Dr. Michael Brown, that was the most watched, but Sophie's was the second most watched. But it was just, I mean, the way that God's used her to be such a blessing in Africa, and the way it came about as well was just so encouraging for to see what God can do. It's amazing.
The thing that touched me the most was when she was talking about those kids that were sat down and they prayed for 4 hours for rice.
Just to get rice. I mean, if I served up rice for the kids, there'd be trouble, wouldn't there?
Well, they want to know, where's the meat? And have you lost your job?
We are so blessed.
Right,
in
that'll
this
do.
country.
That's fine. Right.
Yeah.
So I've got another tin. I'm using the base to cut out a disc of the marzipan. Okay, so we're just gonna run that around like so. The thing I also liked about Sophie's was her testimony about how God picked her out and how her name Mary. Was it Mary?
Yes, that's right.
Did we ever get to find out why her dad called her Mary?
I don't think.
Okay, so we've got a disc of marzipan. That is going onto the top of the batter mix. So it's all raw, nothing's been cooked.
And then you want the second part on top?
Second part on top.
Alrighty.
Alrighty.
So after Sophie, there was our own Janet.
Janet Erdley. She works, she's also working out in Africa. Well, she's based
in this
country at the
country
moment.
through the roof. It's an organisation that works with disabled people in this country and around the world, standing up for their rights and helping them lead as normal lives as possible. And Janet's been a blessing in our church for years. She's been a real godly challenge to us in many times about making our church accessible and welcoming place and a friendly place and that sort of thing for those who have extra challenges.
So we're currently putting in an accessible toilet at Crossroad at the moment, whilst things are fairly quiet. In the room that's opposite the other toilets. So it was like a junk room where everybody dumped their stuff, basically. So if you look at it from the kitchen side, we're going to have a larder, a cupboard-like place to put bits and bobs. And then the other side of it is an accessible toilet. So that's going to be really, really good.
Yep, so Janet was a real blessing. I
She is.
mean, lovely to hear what was happening to those audible Bibles and the way God used those.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine for somebody that doesn't have access to the Bible and now can listen to the Bible to the heart's content? It's solar charged, so there's no batteries to worry about. So it's fantastic.
Okay, we have got something here that resembles a cake. So this has got to go in the oven at 150 degrees for 2 hours, or until you poke a skewer in it and the skewer comes out nice and clean. If you haven't got a skewer, stick a knife in it, and if it comes out nice and clean, cake is done. So what are we doing now? Going to pop this in the oven.
You pop it in the oven, and we'll just do one more person. And then we'll take a break. They don't need to see us cleaning up, do they?
Do you want to see us washing up?
No. But they want to see the end result, don't they?
Definitely.
Yeah, it might involve a trip to Tesco's.
They're not selling Simnel cakes in Tesco,
Are they?
No.
Oh, no.
I could flog this. I reckon if it's good enough to sell.
Anyway, Sarah Yardley.
Oh, yes, Sarah Yardley. I bet she's busy right now sorting out Creation Fest.
Some big news been announced about Creation Fest in the last few weeks, so that's really good. There's something going ahead from the 30th of July to the 2nd of August.
Looks like you'll be able to camp there
so you'll be able to, for some you'll be able to camp, but also it's designed that it's going to be online, so any church can use it anywhere. And it's all free of charge to use, and some great names as well. Some really big names. Rick Warren. He's going to be part of it.
Wow, that's going to be interesting.
So,
good.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Okay.
Anyway, let's get that in the oven.
And we will see you in a minute.
Well, 2 hours have passed.
Well, it was 1 hour 55 minutes. We have cooked dinner and now we are ready to do the cake.
And we have a cake.
Yeah, look.
Do you want to show them?
It's squidgy. Can you see that? It's nice and sort of squidgy. So what we've got to do now is decorate the top in a traditional manner. You're going to do this as well. There goes the rolling pin rolling off. Right, I'm going to give you some marzipan. Okay, You're
go on
just
then.
covered in it already. Right. I'm going to give you that lump and that bit as well.
All right.
Hopefully I've got enough.
What am I to do with this?
I want you to make 11 apostles. Okay, do you know what that is? I mean, I'm assuming as the pastor you know what an apostle is.
Do you know what an epistle is, though?
Yes, it's the wife.
The wife of the apostle.
Right. Okay, so traditionally, Simnel cake has marzipan apostles on the top, 11 of them, only 11. Judas is
You don't include
not
Judas, no.
included. So I'm just rolling out another disc to go on top of the cake. Hopefully it will be enough because I've given you quite a bit. Can you make them all even? Well, they look... I mean, who's that? The little one, the runt of
They
the
weren't
litter.
all the same size, you know.
I
They
know.
were not. They were all different
Oh
shapes
my
and sizes.
gosh.
Like, people are all different shapes and sizes.
Okay, fair enough. Right, now we are supposed
That
to be
one
also
clearly was a friend of Zacchaeus, though. I'll give you that.
Yeah, that's Zacchaeus' best mate.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm going to put marmalade on the top. This is John's favourite marmalade, so I'm not going to use a lot. But it just sticks the marzipan to the cake. So I'm literally smearing it on the top. And we've got 4 more interviews to discuss.
Oh, we have indeed.
And
yes.
the first one is...
John and Lou.
yes. They're a couple that go to our church. And they...
We talked about Bottled Up and the amazing work that they're doing with drinkers and their families around the world. Because it's online, it can touch anybody anywhere in the world. And they have got
And they are
thousands
as well,
of people
aren't they?
that they are genuinely helping. So John and Lou do an amazing job. And they're unsung heroes of Crossroad, I think. They really are.
I'm going to put the cake on there. Now, I don't know if this is how you're meant to do it, but the disc I used to cut around it earlier on is in the dishwasher. So I'm going to put that on the top and then I'm going to cut it off. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that sounds reasonable.
Okay.
So John, then we had Anne Whitten.
Yes.
Now she was lovely. Anne was great. Really sort of brave of her to come and join us and just share her testimony and just her desire to live a biblically faithful life, no matter the cost. No matter the cost. I think that's brilliant. It was great to have Anne with us. And she was a genuinely lovely person
She really
as well,
was.
wasn't she?
Yeah, because we get to talk to people after the interview.
And we would love to sort of spend some more time with Anne, just chatting with her and getting to know her a
Hopefully
bit better.
she's going to come down
Well,
to
you
our
never know.
area
You never know.
when everything eases up.
Matt Smith and
Yes.
waffle.
And did you waffle?
We did waffle. Matt is passionate about waffle. I mean, he really is. In waffles verbally and waffles. So, yes. And finally, Sir Gillian Prance, or Sir Ian.
Sir Ian.
What a lovely man. Incredible man. He's been, I mean, a wonderful story of his salvation, for starters.
9,
Yeah.
10, 11.
11.
Right, I'll eat that bit then.
All right, you eat that bit. I don't think you saw that, but you're right.
No.
You got away with that.
He's a really...
He got a lovely testimony, but the way that God's used him, I mean, he's been out 39 trips to the Amazon. He's got loads of plants named after him. He's a real expert, real boffin. But also, then his story of the director of Kew Gardens. But
He
now,
has done so much and we
but-
barely got to scratch the surface.
because he's doing, I mean, he's in his 80s now, but he's still doing loads and loads of stuff.
Right. Just
Yes.
wondering, if you're wondering what I'm doing, I've just brushed the top of the marzipan with a beaten raw egg. And now we're going to put the apostles around the edge.
You sort of, this is pure guesswork here now.
Okay.
Do you think that's about right?
I have no clue. It's
Oh, it's not going to be far out. Look
It's
at that.
amazing.
They are.
Well, maybe they don't like each other very much.
Well, they did have their
Who's gonna
moments,
be
didn't they?
closer
Let's be
to
fair.
Jesus? Right, and then you can brush the disciples.
Brush the disciples with egg.
Gently.
Jesus washed their feet on Thursday night, like tonight.
Yeah, this is
Jesus washed their
Maundy
feet, and
Thursday.
we're washing them with egg. That's why they needed their feet washed, wasn't it? Clearly.
Right, we are going to pop this under the grill and just caramelise the top, not burn it.
So look how wonderful it looks now.
Yeah.
If it all goes horribly wrong.
We will see you in a minute with the finished results.
All right. Well, I think we've done it.
Well,
Here.
we haven't cut it open yet. It could be completely raw and liquid in the middle. We're going to cut it open.
I think we should cut it open. Go for it.
We've just gently caramelised the top. So, okay, here we go.
It looks good for starters.
Oh, lovely. Cool, plate's still hot. Right, who are we eating? Which disciple is this?
Well, Peter's a bit fishy.
Oh,
Look
yummy.
at that.
Proper
Look at
cake.
that. I think we've made cake. I think we've made Simnel cake.
It is a success.
Anyway, I think it's time to say goodbye.
Hope you all have a fantastic Easter, whatever you're doing and whoever you're sharing the day with.
And thank you for joining us on this adventure of Jon and Louise on Life. It's been really good fun. So thank you for joining us. And we're going to be back in the autumn. We're taking a break now. Back in the autumn with some perhaps different ideas, some new people and some old faces too. So thank you very much. Have a great Easter. We'll see you soon. God bless.
Bye.
Bye.